Recording in progress. What's up? It's your girl, Helsinki712, aka Katy Newton, licensed mental health counselor, art therapist, and fashion designer from Indianapolis, Indiana. It looks like I'm broadcasting from my granny's closet today with this chandelier and the shirt I have on, but today it's my house, and I'm here with the beast from the east. This is Soma79. He's my friend. He's my inspiration. He's an artist. He is a recording artist. He's a friend. Tons of insight, tons of interesting stuff to talk about this album today. I'm really excited. And so you know what we've got here? One Bill Trill. And I want to tell you about this thing. This thing is preserved. This thing is perfectly preserved in its cellophane because I know that this dude's going to be a millionaire one day, and I will have a perfectly preserved copy that was never opened. I put it on my altar with all my other precious objects, and this is very precious to me, as are you. So talk to me. Tell me what's
Wow,
up.
you make me blush. Thank you so much for having me on my podcast. How's it going today?
Right. Well, talk. It's been a minute, and I'm
It's
happy
been
to
a
catch up with
while.
you.
You know, I'm going to mention this first off. We just talked about this a minute ago, and I'll tease this because I'll kind of give the full thing at the end. I have a new podcast I'm launching that you're going to kind of be a part of it to help me guest host it. It's called
Absolutely.
Personal Problems with Soma79. And this is going to be my sort of Love Line meets Fraser Crane type thing, where we're going to try to help
Mhm.
people out with the problems. It's for some reason, I seem to be the one that a lot of people take to their problems, and I'm always taking my problems to other people. So I've been giving, I've been receiving, and I know you're the same way. So
Absolutely.
if you go to www.soma79.com/personal problems, and I'll put that URL at the bottom of the screen,
Hmm.
submit some of your problems, send them to us, give us a fake name. I don't care. Just fill out that form,
And
and
I love
then
that too. Have
yeah,
you have you heard anybody say to you, you know what, Tim? Someone said, man, that sounds like a personal problem. That sounds like
yes,
a personal problem to me. You know where you can go when you have no other resources. You can go to soma79.com, put all
right,
your personal problems there, and guess what? We're here to help you. We're here to
right.
support.
One big theme that I'm kind of have a lot of my art now is the is I'm trying to not be part of the loneliness epidemic, which I think is a very real thing. And I've been realizing more and more that when I make even little efforts to reach out to people, it makes a big difference. If someone gets something a little special in their mailbox from me, it tends to spark a resurgence of our relationship, and we're both a little happier. And
Mhm.
I don't know, like it's just I've been trying to just think more and more about what we can do to help combat all this loneliness, and I'm a little scared with this year coming, how it's going to impact and alienate some people. So, reach out. We'll help you.
I, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. And you know, and you are really good, like I like to call that like a kin keeper, right? Somebody who's good at fostering relationships, right? And not in a way that is intrusive. It's actually really creative. Like, for example, you sent me a lot of really cool stuff. You sent me that box of Soma 79 stickers, which now are all over my community mental health center where I work. There's like
Yes.
Soma 79 stickers stuck in places. Like you open a cabinet, it's like bam, Soma 79. So, and I gave them to all of my clients. They're on every water bottle, every cell phone. They're all over the place and stuff. And they were really a big treat because they're really neat. And they made people think when they looked at them because they didn't understand what they were. And especially coming from somebody that has like schizophrenia or cognitive delay, they're like, what the hell is this? I'm like, well, let's think about it. You know what I mean? So that sort of stuff, it's like you've got your stamp is on this little city over here in this little pocket of weirdos. And I love
One
it.
thing that you've taught me a lot in the time that we've known each other the past couple of years is how much like little things make a difference. I think we were talking about one day how I was even fretting that sometimes my podcast, I don't feel like it's making an impact. And you told me examples of specific times you thought this made a difference. And like that to me, and a few other people have said that to me too. And it really like these micro differences all add up.
Mhm.
It's just, I don't know, makes me happy. And I haven't
Absolutely, they do. And I can
podcasted in
give you a
months.
huge
So.
example of that. Like, look, my dad, right. Look, my own dad loved him to death, but he doesn't listen to a damn thing I say. But and all the things I said on my podcast to you, I've said those things to him, but he didn't know any of them until he heard you say them. So sometimes your parents, they tune their kids out. And after he heard that, he was like so amazed with all my accomplishments. I'm like, I've been your kid for like 44 years now. You didn't realize this stuff. But that was great. And it was a way to have somebody else like toot your horn for you. And it legitimized what I do, not only in the eyes of my family, but in the eyes of my peers. And I like that. And you're a big advocate for artists, and it does make a huge difference whether you got a billion people on your page or you made a difference in just one life, which would be mine. And this is an interesting question I ask in therapy sometimes that helps couples connect when they are on the outs with each other. I sit them down and I ask, what is it that you admire about your partner? And the word admire is a little bit different. And what do you like about him, right? Because it's like things that you admire about somebody are like perhaps the qualities that show up in a time of hardship. And so it's like, well, I really like how he showed up for me when he had to bail me out of jail or whatever it is. Like, what is it that you admire about that person? And so these opportunities where you get somebody else to talk about what they admire about you, it's a good way to make people pay attention, right? Because it's not just you tooting your own horn, it's another person actually giving some very thoughtful insight.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. It's and if you admire someone, say it. Don't. There's no like secret admiration society. Tell people what they mean to you. If it feels weird, keep
Don't
doing
be
it
shy.
until it doesn't.
Exactly.
I
Please. So what is it? Tell me about this.
So this album kind of came together because I have about 5 or 6 albums that are done that are kind of waiting to come out, but they were all kind of being held up on like one like feature from like a rapper, and I really wanted that I was waiting through, and I got frustrated. I'm like, I'm just gonna do something that's all me. So I did this solo album with a bunch of different producers, so I wasn't relying on anyone. I only have one guest appearance, my man Young Hump from Digital Underground. And I recorded this whole album within probably less than 2 months and earlier in 2023. And then and it was a lot of it was tremendously personal. It was talking about stuff going on in my life at the time, like relationships ending, relationships starting, relationships ending again. And it was a wild ride. Like it was for something that was kind of a last minute afterthought. So much of it really ended up being a reflection of where I was at that time, and it was fairly unfiltered. So.
That's fascinating. So it's such a neat thing to think that like good art really can come from a place of pain and what you learn about yourself throughout the artistic process. And I'm really interested to get into that with you about it. So can you tell me about track one, I'm About to Burst? Well, tell me about that one.
So this is the first single, and this is coming out. This interview will be out pretty soon. It'll be around the same time as the first single, which is this Friday, the 17th of January. I'm About to Burst, produced by my man Tali Rodriguez. This is the first time that I've ever worked with him, and he's actually someone that I met through my podcast because I interviewed someone who I knew who had an album out, and he was the producer. He asked him to join, and I met him through that, and he gave me this absolutely amazing beat.
Tertiary, I'm pilled up to calm me down. Quaternary, I'm drilled up, my brain is out. A lobotomy of what is rotting me. Maybe a necessary change. Joe Ramone and I could do a thought exchange. Green Day, call me a basket case, straight up insane. I am human garbage, I'm only happy when it rains. I'm a living color stain on the hair of humanity I can no longer contain. Mariah Carey's fantasies, even if she makes the crotch of my pants increase. Wait, if I finish that thought, they might banish me. The Rob Van Dam in me would like to light a leak to make my height increase, but get a sight of me after the slight release, and you might agree that the inner fight in me is starting to get tight on me. So if someone could enlighten me, I'd like to spike this disease to the end zone. Please give me relief. I'm about to burst from all the words I birth and spurt across the earth till I go inert and need a nurse to keep the curse from inserting me into a hearse. Cause if I'm not spitting a verse, I feel like I'm about to burst. Diabetes is a disease of the soda, so please pass me the DDP yoga. In a week I could be ready to defeat Baby Yoda in a rap battle, but only cause he's quiet as Coda. And I should move to Minnesota to find the rhyme sayer's orders. Maybe my diploma will open some doors for good old Soma. Qualify me to be promoted as the most over opponent to ever focus on living in the moment and totally owning it. On some screaming out the lyrics to lose yourself when you're alone shit. On some dreaming your way out of poverty to home ownership. On some believing in yourself despite your previous boner slips. On some streaming on devices of everybody you've ever known of it. On some beating on your chest just to prove that you can own the hits. On some cheating on your driver's test because you already own the whip. On some fleeting little moment turning to your only bone to pick. On some repeating the rhyme scheme just for the stone cold of it. Anything that will prevent me from exploding is something I'd be open. Too much thinking's got my pen in the ink, linguistical Olympics. Until the typical pitiful critics stick their pitbulls with their listicles and blissfully rip a few new little holes to give a different. Cause they're conditioned to think whatever they listen to is super critical. The entire group human condition ocean view. But really it's pretty minuscule, just give me another minute, cool? At this point, I'm just choosing to ridicule by doing extra laps around the swimming pool. So if you'd like an interview, I'll just need a little interlude. I don't want to diminish you by seeming intrinsically rude. I highly respect any of you who pick up a mic, scripted your rewrite, release a grip on the pipe, or fight to live a different life. I'm not just being contrite, I just really like my life. If you and I ever had beef, now I'm dead and yet on sight. As long as I have time to write, my head'll be right. I've said it at least twice, I'm about to burst like an old leaded pipe. If I don't get this right, taking the words that I write and making them just like the type that maybe like this type of verbal spite, or else just the right little type with a Walkman and a bike riding into the night while the MC empties himself in the mic. If you've made it to the end of the sentence, I should mention this relationship is over. I may be open to a friendship. Inside of every master beats the heart of an apprentice, and I'm almost at the point where I'm feeling some contentment. So it's time for me to ease off, disappear into the scenery, lean against a tree, sleep for at least a freaking week or three. Please don't speak to me until I've had my coffee, please. Live, laugh, love, I trade them all for total honesty and a sack of the bombest chronic leaves.
It's just kind of me rapping for 3 minutes about how if I don't express myself, I explode, pretty much. And there's no real hook to the song. There's a few points where it kind of references the hook and the theme directly, but it's really just me kind of going nuts for 3 minutes. When I sent it to Tali, he was like, yo, this is like your cannabis like song where you just like the rapper cannabis, not like, but like the rapper cannabis where it's just go hard for like multiple minutes. I'm like, yeah, I appreciate that. It's kind of, so made a video for it, shot all, or the majority of it shot right here in this room. Like if you even look at the little spinning cube in the background of me right now, that is featured prominently in this video along with a bunch of other things. But I decided I wanted to make the videos for the two singles off this.
Room.
Yeah, and this room has been totally redone too as part of the mental breakdown that this album sort of precipitated, which I can get into that in a minute. But like my goal was to make the videos for the two singles on this album total as different from each other as humanly possible, which is why the one that I'm about to burst is so colorful, bright, all over the place, energetic, and the second single is black and white, exact opposite. So one of the things with that is it's one of those songs that I didn't really realize what it was about until after it was over. And then it was the other day when I was sort of going back and trying to do some write-ups to promote the single, I'm like, oh, this is pretty clearly just about how if I don't do art, I kind of explode, like internally or implode. And there's been so many times in my life when like I stopped doing art completely and I'm like, this is just driving me mad. Like I'm doing too much stuff. I have to just take a break. But then I go through this cycle where I'm like, okay, I need to free all my time and then I'll figure out what I really want to do. I'm gonna stop doing art. And then I free all the time. And the first thing I think of is I should do some art. And it's like, I feel like I'm stuck in this cycle where like, I'm just gonna keep doing it because I can't stop. So this is how I stopped from exploding. It's like lyrical blue balls. I don't know. That's probably the closest.
That's interesting. It makes me think about like, let's say you're an artistic person and that's kind of like what your DNA is made of, right? You never really get the opportunity to have that type of creative expression. Like, who knows what that would manifest into, right? Would that send you into addiction or to some sort of maladaptive behavior if you don't ever tap into that like innate creativity that we all have, you know?
And that's why when I see all these people who started off very creative and gave it up as they got older, I'm like, you're really missing out on a big part of your life. Like, I know we all have to have time for it, but there's a lot of people who spend their spare time, I'm not trying to be judgmental, but like could spend their spare time in ways that enrich themselves and maybe enrich their relationships a little more to some degree. So as an art therapist.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, you're exactly right. It's sad to see, you know, that sometimes adults think that creativity, they don't have time for that, you know, or that it takes a back seat, but it's fun and it's kind of almost part of like play, and play is a part of like relieving ourselves, you know, something that creative that can be fun and that can be insightful. And that comes through artistic expression, you know?
Well, even like there's something that my friends and I have started doing is, you know, I'm 45 years old and we do like parallel play dates where like we literally just go to someone's house. We'll bring our own projects we're working on. We'll work on them. We'll talk when we want to talk. And then it'll be like 20 minutes and no one will say anything. And it's just like this weird blend of like, a lot of good things that just there's no expectations. There's just enjoying each other's company, enjoying your own company, which is I don't know.
Right.
It's been good. It's like a lot of people feel very uptight about social interaction. Like they have to show up in a certain way. But when you do things like that, it's come as you are and just, you know, you're loved for who you are.
Yeah, absolutely right. And honestly, doing arts alongside each other, one, it creates accountability because you're like, we meet every Monday night for art night. We work alongside each other, but also the art is like the buffer. So we don't have to say words to each other. We can coexist. We can be accountable for keeping up with our creative practices, and we can focus on our artwork. And it feels good to do it because it's very communal. Like we're kind of in a little commune of people, and we're very communal people. We're kind of like to be social, but we also like to create.
What sort of happens too after doing that a lot is then just sitting there watching TV together feels weird. And it's like that's something that I actually like, is it's like, and even like someone I've been hanging out with now will be like, I want to put something on that we feel comfortable talking over. And just acknowledging that it's like something we can sit and watch, and then we can start talking and it won't matter. And it's like, so just acknowledging that at the front of the interaction is actually like not a bad thing. It sets expectations and it sets the pressure off. Like, because even like I can be very easy that person, like, what do you want to watch? I'm like, I don't know. Because I really don't, and I really just want to be there and experience with the person. And if it matters to them, is one thing. It's like when I'm like, I have a list of things that I'll watch when it's just me. But like I understand that it's like it's not Monday Night Raw time and I'm hanging out with someone I'm seeing. It's like I don't need you to be a part of this world. You don't need to know who these people are.
All right, you're like the perfect TV buddy then, because I watch some pretty disturbing shit, and my family leaves the room every time I turn the TV on. So it is a lonely. My true crime is a lonely place to be. So
I love when someone is excited about something. That to me is exciting because it's like I'm so spongy that if someone else is excited about something, I'll sponge onto it. And that's
that. I love that. That's like the perfect friend to have because you're always going to be their best cheerleader, right? You're like, you're excited, I'm excited. We're excited together. Let's go do this, right?
Well, someone tried to get me to watch Love Is Blind. That didn't go so well, so I ain't perfect.
Okay, all right.
I was like, I hate all these people. She's like, that's the point. I'm like, why are we watching? But whatever.
That's one I've not ventured into yet, but there's so many serial killers out there I haven't discovered yet. So
like every
still on
episode
my true
of
crime
48
kick
hours
right now.
is on YouTube, and I'm going through there's like 900 episodes, and I'm going through like all of them. It's
nice, very nice. That you'll never be lonely when there's another 48 hours to be watched.
Never be lonely when other people have bigger problems than me. Yeah.
That's exactly right. So on the task of being anti-lonely, right? You're talking about this kind of loneliness and battling that. So talk to me about that. How did this album help bring you out of that?
It was funny. So this album kind of got created right as one relationship I was in was ending. I had been dating someone for 4 years, and she's a wonderful, amazing person. We still are friends, but like it just wasn't working, and we decided to mutually go our own ways. But it's still a big change in your life. Like it's like you've kind of come to like live with a certain thing, and there's a routine, and then there's like all the things you like about the person you're gonna miss, and then there was just a vacuum. It was like I went to Texas to do some shows, and I came back, and it was kind of just time for the relationship to end, and it ended. And then I felt like, okay, well now what's next? Like it was really a time of going like, what do I want to do? I have this time. It's really just about me now, and I started trying to find a social life again, which I hadn't really had much of for a while. And I just dove right into this album. And I did most of this album. I remember I recorded, I think 5 or 6 of the songs over the course of one weekend. Like I literally just would sit down, I'd write one. I remember hitting up my producer, Anthony Church, and I'm like, yo, send me some beats. And he sent me one. I just wrote to it. I recorded to it and emailed it to him within like an hour. And he's like, all right. I'm like, send me another. And I think he's got 3 beats on this. And it was like literally just as quick as him sending to me sitting there, writing them, recording them, and sending them back. And that's what it sort of was for a lot of this album. That I would say for 11 songs, and it really makes it sound like it's really like thrown together, but I'm super happy and proud of it. I just sort of got them all done very quickly. I learned a lot as a writer. Like I drew a lot more from personal experience than I have in the past, which is something I'm excited about. And I have a song about how much
that's amazing.
Tron.
Did you feel like you were kind of in the but do you feel like you were in the flow state when you went through this, that you really got onto it and then it just kept going and going and going?
Not only that, but I found it's a place I can revisit now. Like once this was really for me, like a time of going, oh, I can not only, I've been doing a lot of collab tracks, but this was like mostly solo stuff. It was all except for one, which was on that one track that wasn't. I gave the guy with Young Hump, I literally said, this is what I kind of want you to say, just find the words. And it was really me kind of architecting it. He knocked out of the park.
So I was looking at your Instagram the other day and I noticed you've got this really awesome video that was like shadowy and it was seemed like it was picking up tones about alluding to a relationship and stuff, but it was really neat. It was kind of different than some of the other things I've seen from you. Can you tell me a little bit about the inspiration and the title for that video?
So that's called Please Shut Me Up, and that is coming on Valentine's Day this year. It's the closest to anything I've ever written to a love song, so I figured you might as well release it on Valentine's Day.
I can't listen any louder. Either I'm already inside of the clouds, or this is just an imagination manifested from my phone screen that creeped out of the frame and entered into my own dream. She isn't actually in my home, see? It can't be she. I've imagined her heart on somebody else's sleeve, and all I had to think about is my own falling leaves. But then I'm relieved. As I wake, I hear her breathe at a slow speed as she still sleeps. Barely makes a peep, but looks so perfectly at peace. She's practically purring purposefully. After her passion peaked, she looked after me with her mastery of, well, that is between her and me. So if you please, imagine whatever it is you want to see, then feel free to believe. As I proceed with running my hands slowly over her naked knee, thighs increase inside her vacancy. I wait and see her eyes impatiently baiting me to play her like ivory keys, and her vibrancy is blinding me. But I move so mindlessly that even if I couldn't breathe.
That was sort of so that's one of those songs that for me kind of comes along only once in a very long time, where so I mentioned before, I had the end of one relationship, and as one is ought to do in situations like that, I managed to jump directly into another one that didn't really last that long. And that song was about that person. It was about literally I wrote it the day after the first time we actually met in real life. It was somebody who I had met on Instagram, or I met on like a dating site years ago, but we'd never actually met in real life. Like, it was pre-COVID. They lived like an hour and a half or 2 hours away from me, and we just realized, oh, this probably isn't going to work. So we just followed each other on Instagram and kind of chatted a little bit over the years, but really nothing. Like, and then just the way the universe works, as soon as I was single, she was single, and it seemed like a better idea than it did years ago. And I got a really great song out of it. I don't want to get into too much of personal stuff, but it was a pretty remarkable experience emotionally for me. And it just kind of all found its way onto the page in a very short period of time. Like, the next day, I just literally picked up this beat Pilsy had sent me, and it all spilled out of me. Almost, I remember writing that track. It was almost coming out at the speed that you would read it. Like, I was just writing it. It's like when you look at it on the page and the lyrics, like, it doesn't flow like most of my songs. It's like the bars wrote, like, even like the bars run into each other and stuff, and it doesn't even look right on the page. It really just flowed out of my head, very raw and unique. And I didn't even know whether I was going to share it with anybody. I sent it to her the next day. I think I sent it to her on Tuesday after I wrote it on Monday, after she left my house on Sunday, and she really liked it, so I felt like maybe it was on to something. And then I sent it to my producer, Pilsy, who did the beat, and he was like, yo, send me these files right now. He was like, I have to mix this song for you, like, right now. And it was like, he's heard most of my music, and he felt that it was one of my best songs that I'd done. And it just really showed me how much
it's great.
I don't try.
Yeah, you have range. I mean, it was really neat thing. How did you make the video for that song?
So that was an interesting story too. And I've always avoided really going too much in my personal life on stuff. I just never thought it was that interesting, and I didn't really. Maybe I wasn't in a place where I wanted to share stuff. But now I'm kind of in a different place. I'm like, this is what I got. Like, I got these. My emotions are here. The songs are emotional. And so now I'm a lot more likely to pull this stuff together. But so the video kind of fell together in an interesting way. Whereas, so by the time I came, like, this was sort of the video that I never would have done. But I asked my producer Pilsy by the time that when the album was done, like, which two songs should I do the videos for? And he picked them. He's like, number one, About to Burst, and number two, Please Shut Me Up. And I would not have picked Please Shut Me Up myself, because by that time the relationship was over. And it had become a kind of a difficult song for me to listen to. And it didn't end on bad terms. It was more just one of those things where there still was a large distance between us. So it was really hard to find out what there
Mhm.
was even there, because that distance and other circumstances around just made it tremendously difficult. So it's sort of like, on the one hand, that's kind of easy to accept. On the other hand, it's like, oh, I just had a few tastes of a really good meal, and the waiter took the plate away, we're not to like use but like, so I was kind of feeling very raw at that point, and the end of that relationship
Mhm.
sort of triggered a pretty bad OCD reaction from me. And you and I spoke at length then, because I was really struggling a
Mhm.
lot. Like I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and
Mhm.
I've been going through a lot of other stressful
Mhm.
experiences in my life. And when that situation ended, it was just sort of the little thing that pushed me over the edge. It's not that woman's fault at all. I don't blame her at all or anything, but it was just that little life thing that just pushed me over the point where it was something that was going to happen regardless. But like, I just had a very OCD experience. I was unable to really eat for a few weeks. I was only able to eat super basic foods, and it's like I can't really explain to you why that's the case. But when I get like this, it's like I'll only accept certain types of food going into my body. And it's like, I don't
Mm.
know how else to explain that, but it's just the way it is.
Well, that's fascinating. In the world of OCD, one of the things that people will go to first is food because it's something that they can control. And it's that's a thing that they do. That's something that they control, that they are consuming, that they do to themselves. Whether you realize it or not, that is one thing that I've seen that is um, a benchmark of OCD is food control of that sort of thing, outside of
I
ritualistic behavior and stuff.
I've had issues with food my entire life, like either like
Hmm.
eating too much or eating too little. And I've gotten better the last few years, but like,
Hmm.
it's just, to me, that's the hallmark of when I know a bad OCD episode's going on, where I'm like, okay, like going to the grocery store, I'm only buying 5 things, but I'm buying a lot of them. That's all I'm eating for the time. And it's just
Right.
like, then it's like that has that spiral effect. And luckily I surround myself with good people. But like, there's been people I've been around other points in my life that if I start acting that way around them, they'd think I was insane. Like they wouldn't
Mhm.
be able to really wrap their mind around it. And so it's the importance of being surrounded by supportive people, and having
Okay, they
someone like
kind of
you.
pull you back, like keep you in check, that sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And
Okay, and so
people
then
that you can be
also,
honest with about how you feel, because it's like I didn't feel ashamed for I didn't feel any shame for the episode that I had with my OCD.
mhm,
And
right,
that made it so that it was easy for me to reach out to people, or a lot
that's
easier.
right.
And
Yeah, that's
say,
great. And that's true. And you'd be surprised people will show up for you. If you give people a chance, so many people are out there that kind of suffer in silence and they don't reach out because there is a level of shame associated with stuff like this. But people, I think now more than ever, um, mental health is more of a conversation and people are more willing to support. But I'm really curious about, so the track that we're talking about right now, that is track number 7.
7, please shut me up. Yep.
Yeah. What's the title about? What's that mean?
Oh, so the hook of it is basically is like, please shut me up and kiss me. And that the
Mm.
point of it was that, so her and I, we matched a few years ago. We're on Instagram, and we traded a few messages, like nothing like in any way flirty, just sort of like, I think she
Mhm.
bought some art off of me, and it was like she was from
Mhm.
a certain area of the country, so if something came up with that, like, hey, this is your back of the wood, stuff like that. But
Mhm.
like, so then like in the time between when we started talking again, when I was single again, we actually saw each other. It was almost like nonstop communication. It was just a lot of, chatting and video chatting and texting and all that stuff. And by the time she got here, like it was like, just shut me up and kiss. I'm so sick of talking. Just let's just shut up and kiss. And it was like
Mhm.
literally that's what it was. She only had like one foot in the door. We'd already like done that. We'd only like met for like 2 seconds, and it was like, a special moment. But like, it was more about that idea that it's like, I've been rambling for weeks. Please just shut me up and kiss me. Is the end of the hook, and that's,
Love
it's
it. Well,
yeah,
speaking of kisses, then we've got track number 6, Kisses in My Will. What does it mean? What's it
yeah.
all about? Tell me all about it.
Actually, you know what? One thing I want to mention about that, I didn't answer your question about the video for that song, and I did
Oh,
want to mention that quickly. That I do want to talk about that song too. The video I had made. So the reason why I didn't really want to make that video was because of all this emotional stuff going on, and like I wasn't even listening to that song, to the point that when I actually shot the video, I didn't know the lyrics, and I was like, I usually know all the lyrics to my song, but I heard that song so few times in the past like 2 months. I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be kind of tough. So in the video, a little bit, you see it's not that perfect, but whatever. But I had met somebody at a party or through social events a year and a half ago, and she just kind of like one of those people who like kind of sticks in your head. Like it's a very interesting like brief encounter. She was dating a friend of a friend, and I'm just like, oh, that was a very interesting person. And my girlfriend at the time agreed, which is thought she was cool. And then kind of back burner, Instagram friend, whatever. And when I thought about making this video, for some reason, she was the first person I thought of. And I didn't really know her that well, but I'm like, maybe she'll do it. And she was down. And she came over and knocked it out of the park. And the idea of the video is that it's I didn't want to make it the same as the song. I didn't want it to be the song is a romantic song, but like I didn't want the video to be that. I'm not looking for that to be what I'm putting out in the world. So I figured the video could the concept I had is, okay, what comes next? Like what, given how my life has changed that I wrote the song, and given what the song is about, how do I turn it into something? How do I give it a new meaning? So I made the video about like what comes next. Like I just had this encounter with someone, and it almost feels like they were a ghost because they're gone now. And then in the same breath, like I'm now moving on, and somewhere out on the outskirts of somewhere is that next person for me that's sort of slowly moving closer. So the actress she sort of portrays a spirit that goes in and out of she's roaming through my house and interfering with what I'm doing, but I don't really know that she's there. But I have a slight idea that someone's there, but I can't see her and know her. So it's sort of about both the relationship that just ended, where it was just ended too quickly and it was like they just vanished into thin air, but also about there's still somebody else somewhere on the horizon that will be slowly moving towards me. So I was trying to capture that.
That's fascinating. That's what makes me think of like a ghost, that their spirit is still there, but their body's not there. And it kind of reminds me of like harkens to a breakup of like, you're still, the stain of you still over this place, all over the place, right? You're still on my mind. I can still, your essence is in my house, but we're not together. So, but I like that. It's like ushering in the new, knowing that there's another person out there for you. Okay.
It's funny too. I showed the video to the woman that I'd written the song about this week, which I was a little nervous. I said to her, like, I don't know what, I've never been to a student before. I don't really know what the courtesy is here. I don't really know what the etiquette is, but like, here it is. Like, if you have feelings either way, I'm glad to talk about them. And
well, how'd she respond? How'd she respond when you?
She thought it was great. She loved it. And the funny thing is, she said, is she was like, I'm so flattered that you found an actress that looked like me. And then like after I was like, oh, I did. Like, and I like didn't really think about that, but I'm like, oh, that had to be a part of the stew, didn't it? like I haven't really, this conversation's happened a few years, I haven't got a chance to really let that set in yet. But I'm like, yeah, it kind of does. Like it's just, I don't know. To me, it was nice to have that full circle thing. And that to me is where it's so important to have my mental health is tied to my art and tied to my passions, where it's like, this was something happened to me that was good, and it was, not great at points. And sometimes those feelings linger on forever and you don't really know what to do with them. But I get this opportunity to be able to make something I'm very proud of and also work through some of my feelings along the way. And then at the end, I get to return back to the person and we get to have a nice moment, which to me is like, a lot of people in breakups don't get that. And I'm always very happy when things kind of work out that way.
It's brilliant, right? And who knows, without the art, without the object that brought it full circle, maybe you wouldn't have that type of closure. And that's just another proof positive for the way that artwork can help you bring resolution and insights, right? And you got to connect with this person and share. And quite honestly, as a lady who has never had a flattering song, more like insulting limericks written about her, I would love to have a video like that about me. You know what I mean? So if anything, I've had a poem written about me in a bathroom stall that was not flattering. So I like the idea of that. And look at that. Art heals, brings people together.
It does. Yeah. And it's funny too. There's a certain thing too where like you can go like, if you and that person are looking at talking about the same thing, it takes the pressure off looking at each other to some degree. It's like you're sort of like agreeing to separate, like it takes some of the awkwardness away. All right, so what are you saying?
Yes, it does. Oh yeah, the kisses in my will. I want to know about that one. So track 6, produced by Count Fifth.
Yes.
Am I saying that right?
Yep, shout out to Count Fifth. I designed. He's one of the co-owners of Man Bites Dogs Records, and I met him through my man Copyright, who I designed the album cover for. And I helped Count Fifth pull together his album, like this like the actual like getting the files ready. And so he gave me a couple beats. He gave me the beat for number two. That's me that actually had the audacity, and for Kisses in My Will. And that song is my like it's funny, like I run this weird thing with me romantically where like I I sometimes be really hard on myself, but if I actually look at it objectively, I do pretty well for myself. Like it's like
Mm-hmm.
I have like numerous people have sort of said to me, "You've really outpunted your coverage when it comes to dating." Like I always seem to really find these kind of amazing people to date. I mean, obviously they've all failed except for but like so it's like they don't always end well. But so this song was sort of like the
Right.
hook was like, I'll leave kisses in my will to all the misses who miss me still. Sorry I didn't fit the bill, but I'm glad we got to chill. And it's sort of just about like, still love you, still got love for you. I'm sorry it didn't work out, but I'm really glad we can spend the time together. And that sorry is not usually like sorry I pieced out. It's like a lot of times it's them being like, I like this, but I don't know if I can handle all of this. And so it's just
Ha!
that's just my
All right.
song
All right.
that's like just I mean it's I do have a lot of love for almost every person I've ever dated. Like I have good relationships with people, and that's sort of what that song is kind of about. It's just about, when I'm gone, just know that I always cared about you.
Well, I'm curious now on the topic of love. We all know like what the love languages are, right? You know, the five love languages: acts of service, what, physical
Physical
touch,
touch.
quality time,
Yeah.
giving gifts, words of affirmation. How do you like to express love to the ladies out there?
Mine is well, I think I did what a lot of people did for a while, which was assume that that you do your own love language to other people. And
Mm-hmm.
that's not always the best way to go. So I try to actually I try to do the thing of, well, what is this person? Because I've dated a lot of women that are just like, I don't like physical things. I tend to date like a lot of minimalist women. They're like, I
Mm-hmm.
just, you know. So what I'll usually do is I'll make people art, because there's no real way to fake the fact that I'm putting real thought and energy into it. Like I'll actually like, oh, like I will do a picture of like their dog or something. I'll do something that shows that I spent time thinking about them.
Right. I mean, we're talking about feelings, right? I mean, there's a big emotional piece of this album. So, it came from a place of pain, of insight, So yeah, can be a therapy session. So which track do you want to talk about? There's so many neat titles on here. So is there one that sticks out? There's 11 tracks on this album, and this is the one Bill Trill, right? We got it right
Yep.
here. And I'm sure you made this album art too. Is that
I
correct?
actually, yes and no. Funny you mentioned that. So I did the drawing of it. My man Abtil, who was on my podcast before, designs dollar bill art.
Mhm.
And it's kind of tough to
Right.
see, but he drew this for me. And like I originally designed the
Sure.
astronaut, I drew this myself, but he brought it together for me, and I decided it should be on an album cover. And the title "One Bill Trill" is really nerdy. And I might as well mention what that's about. It's like I'm always so embarrassed to mention that I like pro wrestling, but like anybody who knows me knows that I love pro wrestling, and that I have the closest man crush
Hmm.
I have is the wrestler CM Punk. And he had this quote where like he had this real life beef with these wrestlers, the Young Bucks, and like he got suspended and came back on television. And he's like, and he said, the guy who runs this network, he called CM Punk's real name is Phil. He's like, he calls me One Bill Phil, and that's because the only real thing in a world of fake bucks, referring to sort of like bucks meaning dollars and bucks meaning young bucks, the guys that he had the big problems with. And like I was just like, I wanted once I had the bill art, I kind of just put it together in my head. I'm like, one bill fill, I can't call it that, but I'm like, what else rhymes with that? And I eventually land on trill. I'm like, one trill sort of just means true and real. So I thought it all fit together with the thing. It was sort of a slight nod to somebody that I really admire personally and professionally. And yeah, and so that song on the album is one that's pretty important to me. And that one's very personal. It's
That's
And I
fascinating.
remain one Bill
That's a
Trill.
really interesting. And I like Ab Till. I've seen his artwork before. Ab Till, right? That guy with the dollar bill art. I love
Yeah.
him. And I saw that episode of your show. I thought that was great. I follow him on Instagram. But I figured the name of this album had to be layered, right? And I love that there's a wrestling reference in there because shout out to Ohio Valley Wrestling. If anybody out there likes the
OVW,
OVW,
baby. Al
love
Snow.
it. So
Is
that's
that near
right.
you?
Al Snow head. Right?
Yep, with that.
Yeah,
Is that?
it's right near me. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. It's about an hour and a half away.
Oh my God. I'm gonna be down there at some point.
Yeah, I saw OVW. I went to go see a wrestling match. Al Snow was there. That was in summertime. I went down there. It was the wildest thing I'd ever seen, but
Yeah, that's a real
conversation
because
for another day.
they were like WWE's developmental territories. They all the big guys came through there over the years. But yeah, I
John
mean,
Cena, he came from there. They filtered a
do do do
lot of people
do.
in through OVW.
Yeah, or I'll mention that later. I got another podcast from doing an episode on John Cena, but I'll say that for another day. One of the first times I released an album with one of my own beats on it, and that's the track "The Real Me," which is when I finally I've had this saying for years that I've been saying, which is, as anyone who really knows me know, there is no real me. And it's basically a way of saying that like I'm constantly changing and like the real me is constant in flux. And I finally crammed that into a song. So I was pretty happy to get that on the album. There's a song in here that I wrote over 15 years ago that I had to change. It was called Jack and Carrie, and it's a song about a relation, basically about a woman who went on a date with a guy, and now he's stalking her. And I had to change a bunch of the lyrics. I had some stuff in there that was kind of okay to say back then, or probably wasn't, but definitely wasn't now. And I'm like, okay, get out the red pen, like rewrite this, fix the rhyme scheme. But like it's and I made that beat was made by a coworker of mine, old coworker now, I mean Matt Duffy, who had sent me the beat like years and years ago. And I'm like, I just gotta find some producers. And I dug the beat up, like this is fire, I'm gonna use it. So excited to get that one finally out there. And then the last thing I want to mention too is the last track is I Love Tron. As anybody who knows me knows, not only is the real me, whatever, but like Tron is like the greatest movie ever made as far as I'm concerned. And they're finally making a third one. And I was supposed to be doing something, and instead I took a bunch of edibles and watched Tron again. And I wrote this song while I was watching it, like as so I wrote this song pretty high. Sorry about that. And talking about Tron, and it's my unenthusiastic. It's just like I like that song because it's me just letting it out. Like this is a geeky, stupid thing I like, and I'm rapping about it for 4 minutes. And like I'm not ashamed of that. Like, let's get these ticket sales going. Let's hope Jared Leto doesn't F up the movie. But it's just so I'm hoping that like this album coming out the year that this new Tron movie's coming out, that's gonna be a thing that wins me my Grammy. Maybe it's not too late to get the song in the movie. So let's see what we can out there. Let's tweet at Disney, tweet at Jared Leto, get this song out there, and who knows? I mean, maybe we'll be having this interview on the red carpet next year.
That's amazing, dude. You're just a brilliant human being. Like, seriously, you've got to be one of the people. I've never met anybody like you before that has so many talents, but is so, I don't know, just seeing a constantly a unicorn played out now, you know what I mean? But somebody who's just kind of like their own, I don't know, just a really unique person that makes a lot of really interesting and insightful contributions to the world of art. And it sounds like you've been doing this for a really long time. You've got a track on here. You said, how old was that track? You wrote it a long time
15
ago?
to 20 years, so long ago that I don't even remember.
How long have you been making music?
So I always dreamed of doing it, and then I just had no singing voice and no talent. So I tried to take singing lessons in my early 20s. This is actually kind of a funny story. I tried to take singing lessons in my early 20s. I wanted to be Evan Dando from the Lemonheads, who I still kind of want to be. So I got the singing instructors on Mass Ave in Boston, right across from Berklee School of Music. And she was like, I was like 21 or 22, and she was in her early 30s, and she might as well have been Phoebe from Friends. Like she acted like her, she looked like her, she's like the same age as her, and she was like just like Phoebe, who was always my favorite of the three women on Friends. So whatever, we're going through the lessons. My last lesson, and I'm not getting any better at all. And she keeps telling me that I'm like getting better, and I'm like, I'm not hearing it. And I had a guest teacher one week, and she couldn't make it, and she's like, "You're terrible." And I'm like, "That's not what the other woman says." And so my last thing there, my last lesson was her last lesson at the school. And she like really hit on me. And I didn't realize until I got home. Like that's how oblivious I was and how little game I had. She kind of like flirted on me in a way that if it happened now, I'd be like, oh, it's on. But it took me a day and a half to realize. And
Wow.
so,
Okay.
but then it said, and it said, I'm like, oh, I'm a terrible singer. She was just being nice to me because she liked me. And so then I gave up singing completely. I'm like, it's rapping now. And I started rapping right after
Mhm.
that. And I started like doing a little like DJ stuff. Like it gave me the thing. I'm like, if it's gonna be anything, it's gonna be rap. So I started doing that for like 10 years. Then I just wasn't getting anywhere, and I felt like I was getting worse. And I heard a song by Percy P, and I felt like totally like I was never gonna be that good, and I just quit for a decade. And I actually just did a
Mhm.
song with Percy P last month. So I guess I picked it up again over COVID.
That's
Um,
amazing. What are some of your greatest influences for like for your style and for what
um,
we've got going on in this album?
Beastie Boys always. Like I think that almost everything I do, from the way that I dress to the
Mhm.
way that I talk to the way that I carry myself and make art, it
Sure.
always goes back to the Beastie Boys. And then I mean, there's always some MF Doom in there where I
Mhm.
less so. This one probably less so, and this is more personal. But I've always taken that task and maybe pulling myself a little back personally. So maybe not on this record, but the
Mhm.
others. But um, just just sort of my own brand of hip hop because I try to be
Mhm.
very true to myself, but also true to the form. And so that's sort of what I'm shooting for in this, and hopefully I hit it.
Absolutely. And I think it reflects that because your style, you have an artistic edge, right? And not only that, because you're a visual artist as well as a musical artist. And I think that's when I think of MF Doom and I think of Beastie Boys, I think of that. Also, there's a very visual element to them, and their style is noticeable. You could pick it out of a crowd, right? You could always pick out their style out of a. I feel like kind of like rap today. It's very, very similar, right? But their style is very distinct. It always defines itself from the others, as does your style and your approach to rap.
Yeah. And it's worth mentioning too, Young Hump from Digital Underground. Digital Underground was like my favorite rap group when I was a kid. Y'all know the Humpty Dance. Like Young Hump is now the
Mm-hmm.
guy. Now that Shock G passed away, he now is the he sort of fills that role in Digital Underground, and that's the energy he brings to this song. And I actually have a whole EP called tentatively called Sunny Days and Hairy Nights with myself and Young Hump that is almost done coming up this. So I finally am gonna do like Digital Under. To me, the idea of doing something with Digital Underground, like I get giddy excited, and I don't even want to jinx it, but it's almost done.
Right.
So I
Right,
don't know.
exactly. I might piss my pants if I was able to have that type of opportunity.
But it's weird though. It's like even like as I don't usually look at myself as I'm talking about this stuff, but I look so as I'm seeing myself, I look so freaking excited. And it's like that to me is like
That's what I'm saying. I know.
to
Like,
see yourself look excited is a weird soul enriching thing, I guess. Which I don't know. Like if I
yeah,
hadn't manufactured this little thing and done this stuff, you don't get that experience. But I was driving around the other day and
right.
I literally was thinking, this would be the day. I'm so happy in such a good mood today. This would be the day that I ironically get killed. What are you talking about? Oh yeah. So the other
You said
day,
you're right in the car.
yeah, I was having this. This is the sort of thing that I kind of live for. And I have this feeling every once in a while, and I know things are going well. Where I was driving around my car, I was in such a beautifully good mood. Everything was going right. And I'm literally, the thought comes in my head, this is the day when like a piece of luggage falls off an airplane, hits my car and kills me. Like if irony is true, today is the day that something happens to me. And it's like one of those things I'm like, that's a good feeling. It's like I just like this like if irony is a real thing, today's the day it takes me out because I'm just that happy. And it's like I get that feeling every couple times a year, and when I do, I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna look both ways when I cross the street, and maybe look a third time. But I don't know.
And that sounds like good inspiration for a song. You know what I mean? To being like so
Mhm.
happy, I'm waiting for something to go wrong, right? But
Yeah,
yeah, so ride the wave because it's like truly happy days exist. You know?
yeah, yeah. It's I can't complain. And a lot of it is because I took the time to work on my art. A lot of it is because I know people like you who are there to help lift me up when I'm down, and that it's it's like I was telling someone the other day that in 2015, in 2014, I was trying to do this painting of Dwayne the Rock Johnson holding a koala bear, and I couldn't get the face right. I got really frustrated. So as a result, I spent all of 2015 drawing a portrait every single day. And this is the 10-year anniversary of that now. And what I realized at the start of
Mhm.
that year, I was somebody who did art. And by the end of that year, I was an artist. And I don't really know how that happened,
Mm.
but by the end, I felt like I was now, and art was no longer something I did, it was something that I was, which is a really pretentious thing that I would not want to be clipped out of this and have associated with me going forward. But like, that's like really how I felt. And once it is part of your DNA like that, it changes everything. It's, you know, and like I said this to somebody who I'm not some, you should not be worried about losing me to another person. You should be worried about losing me in my art, because that's where I lose myself. Like I lose myself in my art. And it's like, if
Right.
I can lose me, you can lose me there. And like, that's where like I sometimes need to be brought back a
Mm.
little bit. It's not, I'm going to cheat on you with someone else. I'm going to cheat on you with like, this nonsense that I want you all to check out.
Right. It's lovely. And and I've always looked up to you as an artist, and how I met you on Instagram years and years ago when I was taking a comic illustration class at Heron School of Art and Design. And we had become friends somehow. I followed you because your art was it was just really cool. I really like kind of like urban looking, graffiti looking space, bold lines, bold shapes, that sort of thing. And it seemed kind of comic strip-ish to me. And so I reached out to you. I don't know if you remember or not, but I had sent you some PDFs of like a comic book that I was working on for graduate school. Do you remember that?
It was funny. I had forgotten about that completely until like you'd mentioned that a little bit last year. I was like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And you were really friendly. And I was like, I can't believe this like famous artist guy would even respond to me for one thing. But on top of that, you gave me some feedback about it, right? And then we just stayed in touch. And then you reached out to me later on. But I've always followed your career and everything that you've done. And it's always really inspired me. And it's also really authentic and original. But still like harkens to a part of things that I've seen before that I really enjoy, but it's got to like your own brand on it, right? I always just really thought that was really eye catching, and you turn out to be such a friendly, engaging person, interesting person. And then the more I got to know
Same.
you, it's like this dude has so many layers, and every single one of the layers is something interesting, something that I admire, you
I'll tell
know?
you, there is something that I've realized I wouldn't have expected. Like, there's been several people who have turned from internet friends to real life friends for me, and it's almost always
Mhm.
gone very well. And it's surprising. I think a lot of people don't make
Mhm.
that jump, but like it's the village idiot syndrome, where a lot of us grew up in a place where we felt like there weren't a lot of people like us. But the internet, we find people like us, and then it's like you take the extra step of actually
Mhm.
forming a real life relationship. You have something. It's not. That's where the loneliness epidemic starts to go away. Is by actually making the world smaller, by strengthening these like kind of tangential relationships and turning them into real relationships. So there's a lot there for people to mind.
Right, exactly. And you know what I think why the relationships, why this is a real friendship, and the real friendships is not there's sexy pictures of me and there's hot pictures of you on the internet and we became friends that way. It's no, we're putting our art out there. It's your
Right.
art as of what I like about you. I don't even know what the face looks like behind this stuff, but I get to see this expression of you. And that's
Yeah.
what I really like. And that's where the connection comes in, is because the art is giving you like the realest, the neatest, the best part. It's like putting your best foot forward. When you put
Yeah.
your best art out there, you get to see that. And
I
that's like,
didn't.
I'm getting to meet the best version of you
Yeah.
without even meeting you. And then that's the foundation for a real friendship.
I didn't even show for years. I didn't have any pictures of me on my Instagram. I didn't even mention my gender. I was like totally just like trying. I was trying to not
Mhm.
put myself out there. And then once I started doing that, I realized how much better it was. And I know that's like the exact opposite of what every teenager should probably hear. So don't take that advice. But like, it's
Mhm.
it made a difference. Like I just, you know, everybody has a story to tell. Everybody has something special about them. So don't run from what's special about you.
I love to hear that. And you know who else we want to hear special things about? The people that call your new podcast. Sounds like
Yes,
a personal problem, right?
yes, personal
Tell me about it.
problems. So you're gonna be helping me out on this. I'm gonna need some co-hosts, and you're gonna be one of them. And so
Absolutely.
so I have three new podcasts launching this year, but I'm only ready to announce one of them. This one is personal problems, and this sort of came about in the wake of me ending my other podcast, The Articulate Ox, which ended. I decided that I
Mhm.
wanted to do something called personal problems. I was a big fan of Frasier and of Loveline, and I always wanted to be that sort of person on the line, like trying to get trying to like help people, and because I really enjoy helping people and hearing what they have going on. And no one's better than that than you. I feel like you're way more qualified to do this than I am. So like, you know,
I
so
don't know. We'll see. We'll put it to the
we'll
test, I
see.
suppose.
Yeah. So what I'm seeing is there, if you can go to www.soma79.com/personal problems, is a very short form where I'm asking for like name, which can be fake, email address, and then a quick description of your problem, and then just whether we have permission to talk about it, because I think it's important just to clarify that we'll be talking about this online. We'll not give away any personal information you don't want to. And then if we get enough of these in, we're going to do an episode where we start going through this, and hopefully we get some momentum going and get some more. If we're actually helping people, maybe they'll call back. I mean, I'd like to be doing live call-ins on this, like they do on like the Love Lines and the Fraser Cranes of it all. But I figured let's get the ball rolling on mailed-in questions and prove that I can actually answer some of those before I try to get people on the line. So that's where we're going to start. So I don't know. I'd love to have you. I'm so happy to have you be a part of this. This is what you do.
Absolutely. That sounds like a blast. I would love to do that. And here's the thing, as a person that works in community mental health, you can imagine I have seen and heard all of the things you could ever imagine. So we're just no holds barred with these questions, right? People can come and they can really bring their stuff, right?
Yeah, and nothing shocks me either. Like I've seen it all.
Absolutely.
I've seen it all. I've done a lot of it. I've walked away from the rest. But yeah, it's time to share some of that wisdom.
Super exciting. All right. So final thoughts for one Bill Trill. Anything? Final thought.
Go to soma79.bandcamp.com. You can order the CD. I still got some of these left. And then I'll mention too, it's worth mentioning on 3/15, I have a video coming out with Cool Keith and Esoteric from Czarface and Aztec from High Big Thoughts called Doomsday for Man of Steel. That's my biggest one yet. I'm actually sitting on the opposite side of my computer right now is the set of that video, and it involves puppets and it's coming together. So 3/15, that's coming out. But one Bill Trill, just hope you like it. It's coming to streaming on February 21st. The first single I'm about to burst produced by Talia Rodriguez, is coming out this Friday, the 17th. The video was live too on my YouTube profile. And the second video, Please Shut Me Up, is coming on Valentine's Day. And then the whole album will be on all streaming services on Friday, February 21st. So I don't know. I hope you dig it. I did all the art on the inside. And yeah.
Amazing.
So thank you so much for doing this and
Party
for indulging me.
Love it.
No. But anything you want
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Anything you want to plug while you're here?
I don't think I have much to plug. We are doing, the Trash and Refashion show for anybody that is in the Midwest. That's April 13th. That is at the Bushkirk Chumley Theater in Bloomington, Indiana. That's where Indiana University is. It's a really neat show. Everything's made out of trash. It's on a big runway. And it's all for a good cause. It's all for a lot of different environmental agencies, things like that. But I'm making some really dope stuff that's out of some of the finest, most weirdest, obscure trash that Indiana has to offer. So keep your eyes peeled for that, and you'll see it on my Instagram. And you could even come to the show. April 13th.
That sweater thing you made the other day, the out of an Afghan, was it? That looked amazing. That was so cool.
You like that one?
That looked so cool. I was blown away.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and you know what? I paid $1.99 for that, and that's also something that I'm kind of working on, getting an art therapy program into a local gallery downtown that is also a community center. And they do really interesting things with the community because it's really interesting. Like we have this old north side that is affluent, but cross 16th Street, and then we get into the neighborhoods that are not. And so this art center museum is there. It's a museum, gallery, and studio host artist studios. They really do a lot of community stuff. So I want to put an art therapy program in there, but I want to teach people how to make that thing that I made because I paid $1.99 for that, and it's dope as fuck. And it's got a like 4-way stretch because it's an Afghan, and it took me 2 hours to make. So I really want to be able to teach people that don't have resources how to sew, so when they can repair the clothing they already have, and they can use materials from Goodwill to make a garment for themselves that not only is built to last, but it's cool because it's a one of a kind thing.
Yeah. That outfit that you made, that's like, people would pay a lot of money for that. I know that's not what you're doing it for, but like I'm a big believer in upcycling and trying to do like just whatever it's funny, the actress from that video, from my video, I saw her in a podcast and she was showing off something she made out of just like the little nets that lemons come in. And I was like, oh, she's my people. And it's just like, And I just like that mentality of it being like, it's like these days, like found art is so much easier because there's so much more discarded stuff. So like there's a lot you can do without a lot of money. And I think that there's a lot of like charm to that. Like even music videos, like it used to be you'd spend $1 million legit on a music video. I shot my videos in this room with what I had, and it cost me probably $100 total, like probably less. You know, it's
Absolutely. I think being resourceful is one of the true marks of creativity, is because it's not just about having like the ability to do art, but it's the ability to take disparate parts, use what you've got and make something really neat. That's when like vision really comes alive. It's problem solving, it's resourcing, it's making things something awesome out of very little. You know, that's really creating something out of nothing, you know.
And this is the
really
last
neat.
thing I'll mention too. It's sort of the Kevin Smith quirks of it all. And this is something that I learned early on is Kevin Smith did not grow up dreaming to write a movie about working in a convenience store. He worked in a convenience store and wanted to make a movie and said, what's the best, what's the easiest, like most reliable path to that for me? And he said, I make it about the convenience store. And if you can get one of those people, if you're one of those people who can see the art around them instead of like picturing this big thing in your head and working backwards for it, that's a shortcut to like getting your art done, is by working backwards from what you have rather than thinking about what you don't have and trying to work towards it. So that's just advice that's always worked out well for me, and you know, sounds like it's up your alley too. So take it for what it's worth. That's some advice you'll get
That's
on
a brilliant
personal
way to look at
problems.
it, you know.
You know, that's personal problems level
That's
advice.
exactly
That was
right.
great.
Yeah,
So,
if you want more nuggets of wisdom like that, come to personal
yes,
problems. So we've got your
yes.
back for sure.
So, all right,
Awesome.
well,
Okay. All right.
thank
So
you so much for doing this.
you're welcome. My pleasure. And I'm looking forward to seeing everybody, all of the masses come rushing in for one Bill Trill. Been a pleasure. Okay.
My pleasure. Thank you.